What are functions? Functions are building blocks of programming language where we are going to collect together all the different statements and then that is stored inside a block, and we call this block as a function. That is a basic building block and which can do a specific task. And one of the speciality of the function is if you define a function once, it can be called n number of times, that is many number of times. And then what is the limitation here? So the limitation is the memory capacity. Till the memory capacity is available, we can say it is supported in the system. We can call any number of times once you define a function. So functions are the basic building blocks of programming language, and the functions can be called any number of times, and it is built on the concept like what? Define once, use as many number of times. In Python, there are two categories of functions. One is built-in functions, and the second category is user-defined functions. Let us explore both type of functions. What is function? Function is a block of code which do a specific task. So let us understand about a built-in function. So let us use the module, that is the built-in module. We can say the library, that is import which module we are going to import now. So we are importing the math module. So please observe here. So we are importing the math module. So once this math module is imported, so next we are using this math module, that is to find the square root of a given number. So what we are going to do, so we use the square root of a given number. For example, I just want to find the square root of number 2. So for example, what we can do, so we can say print that is math of square root of 2. So now once I execute this, and we can see the result, it as 1.41421. So here the square root function that is defined in the math module, which is called as a built-in function. So similarly, there are different built-in functions are there. So that can be used depending upon the requirement. So the most important aspect is that is the user-defined function. So let us understand one by one. So now if we don't want to execute any statement, and that is we just that statement will be there for as a description. So now we don't want to execute the statement in Python. We can use the single line comment, and there are two types of comment. One is single line comment and multi-line comment, and we can see here. So I just don't want to execute this. So I have commented this. So again, so I can observe here. So I just commented this. So it indicates what? So these two statements are not going to be executed further. So let us understand how to define a function. So now we are using a keyword, that is the def keyword, and then the function name. So we can give any name to the function depending upon the task, what task we want to achieve. So based on that, we are going to give the name. So now I'm going to use the name as display. That is to what values we are going to display here. Okay. So depending upon what values we are going to pass, so that value get displayed. So here, so we are not passing any values. What we are going to do, we have just written the parenthesis, and then after this, we are going to write the colon. So now this has actually defined the function block. So we can observe here the indentation has increased. So now this is the function block. So whatever the statement I am going to write it here now, it is in the function block. So what I'm going to do is I just display, for example, so the word hello. So we can observe here. So once this defined, so we can observe here. So next, any statement, if I'm going to write like this. So now these two statements are under the block, that is the function block display. So we can observe here. So when I come out of this, so when I come out of this, so now I came out of the function block. we are outside the function block. So in Python, if you want to make use of any function, that is when you want to call a function, first we have to define the function. So once that function is defined, it is actually doesn't do any work until and unless we call the function. So function has been defined now. So now wherever it is necessary, required, so we can able to call the function. So how to call the function? So we are using the name of the function. We are using the name of the function. So now let us understand the type of the function. So where we are not passing any parameter, that is, we can say we are not passing any arguments here. So we are simply calling the function. So now let us see what is the result. So now I have defined the function. Now I am calling the function since I am not passing any arguments. So let us run the code. And we can see here the output as hello world. So as soon as I call display, so we can get the result. Similarly, so what we can do, so we can call this any number of times. So depending upon the number of times you call the function, so that many times the task get executed. So we can observe here. So hello world, and hello world. It has printed three times. So now let us see. So this is a function without any arguments. So now we can see here. So what is any value we can pass it to the function. So now that category of function, we call it as pass by value. That is, we can pass value to the function. So function is defined with pass by value. That is nothing but we can pass a value to the function, and in the function we can use the value and we can do a lot of tasks. That is nothing but we are providing an input to the function to do some task. So now let us understand how to do that. So what we will do, so I'll be taking the code. You can see here. So similarly, another example. So now define. So I'll be writing the display function. So here, so what is the argument we are using? So we can observe here. So we have used the parameter name. So whatever the, we can say the value, that means the whatever the data the user is going to pass here, so that we are receiving. So it is received in a variable. So that name we are using it as value. So similarly, we can observe here. So once we define this, so then we are just printing this. That is. So now we have not done much any task. So what we have done, so we just define the function. So it is going to receive the value, that is with the variable name as value, and then we are printing the same. So now what we are going to do, so now here we can pass the value. So which value we can pass? You can pass any type of arguments. What are the arguments? So we can see here there is a, what you can say, the indication here. So what display means, you can observe here. So whatever we are going to give, so it will be stored in the variable called value. So now what I'm going to do, so I just pass an integer value, display 100, and we are going to call the function now. So what I will do, so I use the multi-line command. So that is with the three quotes. We also call it as triple quotes, that is enclosed between the triple quotes. So now we call the display function. So now we can observe here. So when we call this, what happens? This value 100 will reach here. That is, it is taken by the value is assigned to this. That is 100 is assigned to this variable. And then wherever I use this variable, so that value will be replaced. So we can see here. So when I executed this, and we can see the value as 100. So next what we are going to do. So whatever the value we have passed, and then we can also give the message like something like this, that is print that is value plus so we can also do some of the operations like this. So we can see here. So we just do this, and we can see the result as 400. That is earlier time it was, we can see here the value we got it as 100. So now we have made a modification. So that is now value as 400. Similarly, so whenever we are about to pass a value, so we can, what we can do, so we can also read the value from the user, and then we can pass the same value to the display function. So now what we can do, whatever the value we are going to read, the same can be passed. So how that can be read? For example, let us declare the variable. That is, for example, something like this. B is equal to, that is, let us pass integer value. If you want to pass the integer value, so we are doing the type conversion, and then we are writing that is the input function. So we can say enter integer, enter an integer value. So enter an integer value. So once this value is ready, so we can see here, instead of this, so we can pass this B. And then what is the small modification we are doing? So we can see here, whatever the value we are passing, so it will go here, then we print the same, and then we can update the same. So let us run the code. So we can see here, we got a message, enter an integer value. For example, let us give the value as 500. So we can see here. So once the value 500 has been given, so that is displayed with the print statement. And then this value get incremented, that is 500 plus 300, which is equal to 800. So like that, so these category of functions is called functions with arguments. And these what we have discussed previously are called function without arguments. So now let us see how to do a simple task with the help of a function. So again, what I will do, I will make this entire code that is under the comment. So now it won't be executed. So let us define a new functions which can add two numbers. That is, write a Python script to add two numbers. So let us understand what's the way we can define this function. Very simple. So what is the basic requirement? You have to define a function which add two numbers and display the result. So the basic necessity, either you can read the numbers from the user, or we can assign and then we can pass it as an argument, or you can read the numbers from the user and you can further pass it as an argument, or only inside the function only we can do the task, or we can use it outside the function. That is, we can read the value and we can pass the data to the function. Within the function, we find the sum and we can get the results. So let us understand. So what we will do, so first let us define the function, that is sum of numbers. So let us take sum of numbers. Let us define a function like this, sum of numbers. So how many numbers? That is, we are interested to find the sum of two numbers. Let us take two numbers, that is number 1, comma number 2. So you can take any variable name. So it is up to the requirement. So what we can do, we can observe here. So we have given the colon. So now what we can do, so simply I can use a print statement. So I can print the result as number 1 plus number 2. This is number 1 plus number 2. This is one way. The another way is what we can do. We can create another variable, that is result is equal to, that is within the function, result is equal to number 1 plus number 2, and then print result. So what we are doing, so we are adding the numbers and then we are printing the result. So next what we will do, we will come out of the some function block, that is sum of numbers. And then here we call this function sum of numbers. So how many numbers we are interested? That is two numbers, sum of numbers. So now what we can do, we can directly we can pass the value, that is the thing, but the value is an argument, or we can do what you can do, we can read from the user. So now let us pass two values here. So 20, 30. So the values has been passed. So now these value will go to, that is number 1, 20, and the number 2, 30. So and first we are printing number 1 plus number 2, that is 20 plus 30, 50. And again what we are doing, so again result. So this is just to print the sum. So what is the another way? We can also use a third variable. We can use a new variable here, that is number 1 plus number 2, whatever the value we got, that is assigned to this variable, and then we are printing the result. Okay, so let us comment this and we can check what is the result it is going to print. So I'm using the single line comment here. So now we can run the code. So we can observe in the right side. So we can see that as 50 here. that is the sum of 20 plus 30. So now what we are going to do, so I'll make this as the comment, and then let us execute these two. So we are using the third variable and then we are printing. So we can see the result. So now 50. So what we can do, we can also add some statements like this. That is sum of two numbers. Sum of two numbers. Sum of two numbers is equal to, that is comma result. So now in this case, what happens? So we can see the statement that is sum of two numbers is equal to 50. So these are the what different ways we can that is we can find the sum of the numbers, that is with the help of a function. It can do a specific task. So now let us understand one more important aspect of the function is what? Usage of the return statement. So why we use this return statement? Return statement is used to return the result to the word where the function has been invoked. So now what we are doing, what actually we are doing, so we are just calling the function, and within the function we do the task and print the result. Sometimes we want that result to the word somewhere used in the program, and then that has to be what displayed or it is used further. So by that time what we are going to do, so within the function we do the computation, and then the result we are going to return from the function. So now in this case, what we are going to do, so we are removing the statement. So what I'm going to do, so result is equal to number 1 plus number 2. So now what we are doing, so we can return the result. So where we are going to return the result, let us understand. So we are returning the result. So where this result is returned, where the function has been invoked. So now we are calling the function here. So now whenever you call the function, the result will get returned. But so you need a help of what? A variable, or you need a memory location to hold the return value. So now what we are going to do, so we take the help of what? The variable has got the, you can say the some value, something like this. You can create any variable. So it's which is equal to sum of numbers. And then you can see when this function has been called. So in the what actually happens, the control will go here. The statement get executed, result will be returned. So whatever the result is there, that is assigned to the variable some value. And then so we are going to print it. That is print some value. So now when we run this code, so we can see here. So again, it is 50 because we can see here we are returning the result, and the result will be here. That is the value 50 is returned here, and that is assigned to the variable some value. And then we are displaying the some value. So here we have used the return statement, that is to return the what, that is the result, or you can say the computation outcome. And the return statement is so powerful that what we can do, so it can we use, that is we can give the expression, and these expressions can be what evaluated, and the result can be returned. So it is also we can give the expression. So what I will do now, so I'll just comment this. So what I'll do, so I can write it as number 1 plus number 2, like this. So when we do like this, what happens? The result get computed, that is number 1 plus number 2, and that is returned to the what? So where it has been invoked. So now sum of numbers we have called here. So the result will be what you can return here, and then that is assigned to the sum value, and then some value will be displayed. So you can see the now again we got it as 50. So we can see here. So there are different ways what we can do. So we can do the computation within the function, and we can return the values. So this is one of the important aspect. And we can also observe here in Python, there is a what we can say the speciality of the Python is, that is Python knows about the data, and there is a concept of, that is inherent polymorphism. That is nothing but what? So polymorphism is inbuilt with the functions. That is, you can pass any value, and the value can be what displayed. And also you can define the operations. That is one function, it can accept the different values and it can do the task. Let us understand by an example. So what I'll do now, so I'm going to define a function. that is defined. That is nothing but, so let us say addition. So now what we are going to do, so let us take value 1, and then value 2. So let us understand. So how powerful the Python functions are. So now what we are going to do, so we have defined the function. So now what we are going to do, so value 3 is equal to, you can say value 1 plus value 2, then print value 3. So we are printing this. So next, once the function is defined, so now it is ready for, that is, we can call the function. So here we have not used the return statement. So now what we can do, so first what I will do, I'll give two integer values, that is 10, 20. So let us execute this code so we can see the output in the right side. So we can run this and we can see 30 as the result, that is 10 plus 20 as 30. So next what I'm going to do, so I just change this, that is to what, some 100.20 comma 78.1. So now earlier I have passed the integer value to the same function. Yes, we are able to do the computation. So next we are passing the floating point values. So we can see the result here. That is 178.3, that is 100 plus 78.20 plus 78.1, that is 178.3. So next what we are going to do, let us pass two complex numbers. So for example, 3 plus 4j, comma 6 plus 8j. So now let us run the code. So and we can see here, so the real part get added, that is 6 plus 3, that is 9. And then imaginary part, that is 8 plus 4, that is 12, that is 9 plus 12j. So now we define the function once, and that is used for what? Different types of arguments. So that is defined once, that is once the function is defined, and the same function can be used for what? Different types of arguments. So that is nothing but what? Polymorphism, that is more than one form, that is once you define, so we can use the same, that is to what, that is can be used with the different types of arguments. So now this is the case. So next we can see here ON. So because your language understands about the data, so now what we are going to do, so instead of the numbers, so let us pass the string data. So I'm passing hello and then comma. But so since language knows about data, so now what is going to happen? So now we are calling the addition function. So we can see, so here, so since both the arguments are of type string, and then here we know that whenever the two string arguments are there, whenever it encounter the plus operator, so we are performing the not addition, we are performing the concatenation operation, that we can say these two strings are combined and the result has been given. So this is the Python function speciality. And then there is a support, that is a polymorphism is inbuilt, that is the functions is defined once and it can be used for what? Different types of arguments. Next, understand what is the local variable and then what is global variable. The local variable is the one which is defined inside a block. Okay, so what is global variable? The variable which exists throughout the program execution, and that is called global variable, usually which is defined outside the block. So let us understand with the same example. So now what we'll do, so let us define it. We can say let us assign the value for a variable that is a as 100. So observe here. So now what we have done, we have assigned the value a is equal to 100. So now we are outside the function definition. We can see here. So now this a is equal to 100. This variable a is called the global variable. That is, this value will be there throughout the program execution. For example, when I run this code, so now I will type here a. So we can see here a as 100. So this is a global variable. So next what I'm going to do, so I try to access the value 3. So we can observe here, this value 3 is a local variable. So now if I try to access the value 3, because it is available only till the what the time the function is executed. So once the function got executed, so whatever the memory is allocated has been deallocated and the values are forgotten. So now if I try to say value 3, and then we can get the error as what? Name error. That is value 3 is not defined. But if you say a, and we can see the variable value that is 100 is displayed. That is nothing but what? The global variables are those which exist throughout the program execution, and the local variables are those that can exist only till the block gets executed. Once the block's execution got over, so whatever the memory allocated is for the local variable is deallocated, and then what we are going to do, so we can, whenever we try to access the value, so then we get the name error, that is nothing but what? Value is not defined. Okay, so we can realize with the other aspect. So for example, so we have used the variable name that is a is equal to 100. So now what we are going to do, so again what I'm going to do, I use the variable name a, and this time as a local variable. We can observe here. So what I'm doing, so I'm just assigning the value that is print a. So now what we are going to do, so here when we outside the function also, so we try to print the local variable and global variable. So now what happens when both the local variable and global variable have the same name, and within the function, this local variable has the highest importance than the global variable. So let us understand with the execution. So we can see here, so first the string get concatenated, and we can see the value 300 is displayed because it is a local variable, even though the global variable with the same name is there. So this local variable has the higher importance than the global variable. So that is why first the value 300 is displayed, and then we are at outside, that is the global variable, and we can say that value 100 is displayed here. So sometimes what happens, we just want to use the global variable, that is whatever the value we have assigned that is inside the function. So by the time, so we have to use the global keyword. So we have to indicate the interpreter that I'm using the global variable that is inside a function. So now when I use the statement like this, global a, then what we can do, so we can use that name, that is the variable name here, and then we can try to print the result. So now in this case, let us remove this. So let me run the code. So we can see now, so the variable a is global. So sometimes we want to use the global variable name inside the function. So then we can see global, we have to use the keyword global. So it is a indicator to the what our interpreter that. So now we want to use the global variable value. So now we are printing it. So now the value 100 get displayed. So these are some of the important aspect where that is the local variable and then global variable, and then the types of function, the function scope, and then how to use the return statement. Thank you all.